Vikings defense, our Vikings offense, they have kind of like a little running back thing going between, Madison and also Chandler in the backfield. How do you combat that with their skill set?
Well, the one thing they do a good job of. The offensive line does a great job in terms of blocking well together. They do a good job to be they're on one accord. So one, you got to do a good job handling the blocks up front, just trying to get off blocks. The backs are pretty dynamic in terms of good combination of size, speed, and quickness. The thing that stands out the most is the vision. With the stretch run game, find those backside cutback lanes. So we got to be disciplined on the backside. That's one thing. We got to do a good job of setting the edge, and then we got to be physical when we tackle them because they're guys that break a lot of tackles.
If you look at the weapons that they have, and it looks like Jefferson's probably going to play.
Oh, yeah.
Hawkinson, Addison, those are three pretty premium weapons. How do you go about kind of managing that?
Stay up late? No. It's every week. When you're facing these teams in the NFL, pretty good players, dynamic players across the board. They're no different than a lot of the teams we've seen. And what we're going to do, we're in the lab right now working on a game plan to try to see how we can minimize them. Take away their strengths and try to attack their weaknesses. But in terms of the good combination, one, the play calling. I think Kevin's done a really good job. You can see just even like the second half how they're able to adjust and. I don't know the stats for that per se, but he does a good job of adjusting. So you got to be ready to combat that on top of dealing with the players. And then whoever they have there at quarterback does a good job of getting the ball distributing the ball to their skill players. And, they're a run-first team in terms of that's the mentality, just what I've seen throughout Kevin's career. So you got to combat that by playing good sound football, and making sure that we tackle, get off of blocks, and try to win situational football. Third down, red area, 2 minute. That's going to be key.
How much does Jefferson change that offense? And is there anybody that he reminds you of? Like, is there a comparison that you can make?
I don't like to compare guys. I mean, the biggest thing for me, he's one of the best receivers in the league, and he's pretty dynamic with the ball in his hands. He runs good routes. He can make plays with the, after the catch, and then the willingness to block. They ask those receivers to block in the run game, so you see that as well. So complete player. A lot of respect what he's done in the league so far. We're going to have our hands full.
Coach, curious as to what goes into your decision as to when to or when not to blitz. Mm-hmm. What goes into that?
Based on what we think is best for the team against that team. So, again, whether you're blitzing 5, you're blitzing 6, or you're simulating pressure, it's all based on what we think is best for that team. And then when you get in the game, you got to adjust based on what you're seeing.
Were you able to step away from football for a week, and are you kind of I'm kind of away, but I'm really still locked in?
I was able to spend a little more time with my family. So, nothing different than every other coach in the league. But does it ever leave your mind? You end up watching some of the college games, some of my buddies coaching in those games. I was happy to see those guys play and coach and win their championship games. But it never really escapes my mind too much. I'm a football coach, so. And football coach with no hobbies, so.
Coach, scoring in the NFL is down. Mm-hmm. I think it's the second straight year that it's down. Mm-hmm. A lot of analytics and statistics lean toward winning the red zone, winning that situation. What kind of goes into that? Is it a mentality? Are guys scheming differently down there?
Well, one thing that happens in the red area, Brian Flores used to say this when I used to work with him, and I know he's the DC for me. He said something messed up happened for you to get down there. So when that happens, the mental toughness comes into play defensively. Okay, whatever happened, whether it was a kick return, punt return, a long play on off, long drive, something happened. So mentally, you gotta refocus, reset, and your mental toughness has to show up down there. And the number one thing we always talk about is not letting them run it in, and that's critical right there. So that's something we got to improve on. I got to do a better job with that. But you don't want them to run it in, and then you want to try to force them to throw in those tighter windows because the field's condensed. And so that's where you can see a lot of defenses when they can stop the run down there and force the throws. Again, the throwing lanes is more condensed. That's where you see defenses be able to. That separates the really good teams, really good defenses from the teams. Like everybody's chasing those really good red area defenses because they're able to do that. Stop the run first, and then you got to make sure, and then try to confuse the quarterback because the windows are tighter. So it's critical there, but it does start with mentality. I would say that because something messed up happened to get down there.
Coach, AP last week said that, a couple of the young secondary members are going to get a little bit of run, especially with the guys that got waived. Just going into this last stretch of the season, what are some things you want to see from Ja'Cory as well as Jack Jones, who you just signed?
Same for every player. Just compete. In terms of pass coverage. Well, first, in terms of fundamentals, let's tackle. Because you know how the run game is in this league. They're trying to get the ball out to the corners, try to get out to the safeties with the crack replace. So we got to do a good job of tackling, getting off of blocks. And then from the coverage standpoint, compete, in terms of winning your leverage, tying in good vision, good eye discipline and zone coverage, and just really compete and then try to get the ball. That's how I would sum up defensive back play, like if I was to do it really quickly right there. But that's what I'm looking for.
The game's been able to slow down for Ja'Cory now this late in the season?
I think anytime, just no different if any of us were playing. Once you get more reps under your belt, does it slow down? After in your rookie year, I would say to a certain degree, but there's so much more to learn. That's the beauty of this game. I'm in my 22nd year coaching, 15th year in the league. There's so much you learn each week, and you got to reset each week. But I'm sure that he's seen a couple things that, this happened in week 4, this happened in week 3, and it looks familiar, but, there's still a long way to go for all of us.
Coach, other than getting healthy, how did the bye week help you and your defense specifically?
For me, just it was a chance to, he mentioned earlier, a chance to get away, reset, spend some time with our families. That's always critical, especially around the holiday season. So happy holidays too, by the way. So that's always critical there. And then in terms of the players, I think it's a chance for them to reset and understand that once you get after Thanksgiving, that's when real football starts. Again, it's cliched. You'll hear I heard the first time I got in the league when I was a QC and didn't have a bye week to week 9, and I was dead tired because we had already played 13 games, and they're like, well, real football didn't even start yet, so after Thanksgiving, and so that's one thing about the league, and it gives you a chance to reset. So it's perfect timing for that. We got 5 games left. We got to take it a day at a time, and you get a chance to reset, re-energize, and let's go get it.
All good, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a bit of a two-parter, but, with Max going through what he did to play against the Chiefs, one, how much does that speak to his fortitude of who he is as a player, but also how much do you need for the other edge rushers like Kuntz and Tyree to step up with him kind of being down a little bit?
I can't mention enough about Max in terms of, you guys know him, you spend enough time around him. Again, his approach to the game, his approach to taking care of his body, true professional, pleasure to be around. Speaks to who he is. But that's how he carries himself. Again, whether it's winning awards for his community service, whether it's how he is to teammates, or when he, gives the coaches some sneakers for Christmas, that's just who he is. That's who I saw even when he was a young player coming out of college. I just liked him a lot. Again, I know he's grown since then, but I just really liked him, and it's been a pleasure for the last 2 years to be able to coach him. So, everything he does, character-wise, it's he's right up there with the top guys I've ever coached. Just a pleasure to be around. And then in terms of what we have to get from the other guys, you look at it in terms of just compete. Good compliments, or not even just good compliments. Malcolm Kuntz is playing really good football right now. Tyree, he's improving each week. That's all you can ask for those guys. And the guys on the interior, they're doing a good job in terms of defeating blocks, getting middle push in the pass rush. I've been pleased with how they've competed each week, how they've improved. That's the biggest thing I get as a coach, to see their improvement throughout the season. Again, it's no different. I tell you all the time, I'm a teacher, having to teach football. I know we got to get results and all that, but when I see improvement, that's the biggest thing that I'm proud of. All right, thanks. Run DMC.
She gets stuck in there. All right.
Well, I know everything was moving 100 miles a minute for you over these last 4 weeks. Did you get a chance, over the bye week to be able to kind of unplug a little bit, but also maybe take a look at things and in a way that you can retool things a little bit?
I did. We as a staff got together kind of before, even right at the beginning of the week, got together on some things we've done, We were to evaluate some positive and some negative, and really assess that going forward. So we had some good time to spend there.
Is there time left in the season to, I'm not saying make massive changes, but make, whether it's subtle changes or dramatic changes to what you guys do offensively?
Yeah, there's always time, but you have to be respectful for the players, and then what we put on their plates, because what we do, we expect to execute it, and we have to practice it, and that has to carry over in the game. So wholesale changes, no, not at this time.
What have you learned about yourself as a play caller maybe over this last month?
Well, every day is something. I learn something new, but that's been that way, I feel like, for my whole coaching career. So I take the experience and I move on from it, whether it's a positive or a negative one.
What is the key to finding consistency? It seems like you have good drives, good plays, different times that the game going really well, and then other times it's not. I guess so. What is the key to just finding that balance throughout the game of just sustaining things?
Execution, relying on the things we do well. Always there's, is there a better call sometimes? Possibly. Is there better execution out there? Certainly. Just those things combined into one, but just staying level-headed and calling a good game.
You look at the Vikings defense on film, Hunter, he kind of jumps off on the film. How much, does an impact does he have on that Vikings defense, and how can you kind of limit him?
Yeah, he's a great player. Like I've told you guys before, there's one every week. So, and them as a whole, as a football team, they're a very good football team.
When you were able to take that review and look at the film, any takeaways from Aiden O'Connell over the last, these 4 games?
Yeah, he's progressing. Very positive. What he did last game. Obviously, you don't win. That's your number one job. That's my job. But he did a lot of positive things to grow from.
What are some things that you've noticed within the relationship on and off the field that he has, Aiden, with Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I think they communicate well. He does a good job of communicating with all his teammates. He's been like that since he's came here. And he's very grateful for his opportunity, and he's trying to make the best of it.
You talk about every team having, at least one guy that's going to, wreck your day sometimes if you allow him to. I guess where's the balance between making sure you account for those type of players and not freaking out and just obsessing over them and forgetting about just what you want to do?
There's a balance, but it'd be irresponsible not to pay attention to a great player as we do every week.
That's good.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.